Hello, and welcome to my Regis Capstone video reflection. My name is Michael O'Connor. I have been a teacher at Denver Public Schools for the past 13 years. I started my teaching as a second grade teacher. I loved working with this grade and was always trying to find ways to incorporate technology into my students' learning. 4 years ago, my school decided to make a commitment to moving our students into the 21st century by creating a technology teacher position and bringing our school's technology up to date. I was fortunate enough to become the technology teacher. I now have the opportunity to expand the use of technology to improve the learning of not only the students at my school, but the teachers as well. So in the fall of 2012, I decided I needed to expand my knowledge in instructional technology to better serve my students' and teachers' needs. I entered the master's degree program for instructional technology at Regis. EDTC 600, Pedagogical Practices in Instructional Technology, was my first Regis class. It was also my first time involved with an online master's program. This was a challenging course as we dove deep into how to utilize TPAC framework, Marzano's 9 instructional strategies, the Universal Design for Learning, and other frameworks into our teaching practice. All of these opened up my personal and professional understanding to how I use and view technology, pedagogy, and content in my own teaching and learning. I came away from this course with a greater understanding of how to blend all of these frameworks and strategies into my teaching practice. The artifact that I had the greatest impact on me from this course was the staff presentation that I built to introduce an excellent web-based site called Edmodo to the 2nd through 5th grade teachers in my building. Edmodo is a student-friendly, secure place to connect and collaborate, share content, access homework, give grades, have class discussions. There are already a few teachers in my building who are using Edmodo, either to flip classrooms or to assign classwork and homework. There are many other teachers who are curious about it, but they just don't know how to get going with it. I plan to use this PD to collaborate with the teachers who are currently using Edmodo to help guide teachers new to Edmodo. I'm hoping that having the teachers open up an account, take a look around, join a group will spark their interest in using Edmodo. By simplifying the introduction to Edmodo, I'm hoping to make it fun and enjoyable and getting the teachers using and sharing the tool without all the overthinking. I feel this PD will increase my teachers' awareness in an excellent tool and get me comfortable in presenting staff presentations. EDTC 614, Integrating Technology into the Curriculum. In this course, I was pleased to see that some of my own practices of integrating and blending technology into my teaching practice were acceptable methods. I gained a lot of insight and knowledge of other methods that are coming into use. But one aha moment I had during this course came from researching my school's technology budget. I have been the technology teacher at my school for the last 3 years, but have not really seen or dealt with the specifics of the actual budget. I was usually part of this decision-making process as to what was needed in the school for technology hardware or software. I was an advocate for teachers who wanted to use a specific database like Learning A to Z or IXL Math. This research was an eye-opener for me. I had little knowledge of the inner workings of the school's technology budget. I found out that it was not a straightforward process where an exact amount of funding is allocated. It is more of a multi-layered source of funds. Depending on who is steering the budget's decision, it can make a big difference on what type of technology may actually be in your school. I also learned that my school district also has a great deal of influence over whether your school's technology needs are being met based on outdated equipment you have in your building. Overall, it is a complex process that I am glad I found out about. I now have a better understanding of what my school budget secretary and principal have to undertake dealing with the school's technology budget. I am now a contributing member of the technology budget at my school. EDTC 603, Web Development for Educational Use. In this class, I was introduced to the ins and outs of designing and building a website. WordPress was the platform I chose to build my Regis Capstone on, It was also where I built my own classroom website, which was one of the projects during this course. It's also the artifact I chose to share. This was my first attempt at building a website from the ground up. I designed this site to become part of my technology class. I wanted it to become a resource for my students, parents, and peers. During this course, I came to realize that the design of a good website involves many components and techniques, starting with knowing your audience. Because students will primarily use this site, I decided to make my pages clean, bright, and inviting by using pictures of my students. I used clear navigation buttons so that all the visitors would find it easy to navigate and access. I try to have the key information above the fold on the page to keep the viewer's interest. During the design and building of my classroom website, I became a strong believer in the need for having an effective web presence as an educator. I found it challenging, frustrating, and rewarding building this site. EDTC 604 Advanced Web Development. My adventure into advanced web development really became an introduction for me to what seemed at first the crazy and strange language of HTML and CSS. During my plunge into researching these two basic codings, it became apparent to me that I was not going to become a code geek. I did, however, gain great insight into what does go on in writing the code for a web page. I got to work my way through two learning management systems, Code Academy and Team Treehouse. I did not like working in Treehouse as much as Code Academy. I found it frustrating and counterintuitive. Code Academy, which I spent many hours hacking through, became almost addictive because it was so user-friendly for me. It allowed me to move back and forth between lessons, quickly to review the code. It even had a hint box to help me with many of the lessons. Overall, I like the format of Code Academy. I have found the knowledge I've gained about HTML and CSS coding from these two programs to be very valuable when working on my own web sites. I was able to look at the text or code side of my website and improve the quality of its appearance. During this class, I also put together my first screencast using an online tool called ScreenFlow. I wanted to build a PD to share with the teachers in my building on how to back up their files and folders from their teacher laptops. The topic for the screencast came about because of my own personal experience of having my hard drive die during this course. I lost a bunch of files and pictures in the process. I learned a lot putting this screencast together. Developing a storyboard and script are a must for quality production. Knowledge of the tool is another. I plan to produce other screencasts to address topics with my students and teachers as the need arises. The quality of my screencasts will only improve with experience and will add greatly to my teaching practice. 605 Multimedia. This course introduced me to some amazing multimedia ideas and tools to use in my teaching practice. It was one of my most enjoyable and challenging classes. We explored a wide range of open source programs, blogging and microblogging, social networking, and Creative Commons were just a few of the topics covered in the class. The artifact that I chose to share was my final culminating project for the course. It's a Prezi titled A Tour Around My Desktop of Multimedia. It brings together many of the open source tools and research we covered in the course. This was my first attempt at using Prezi and was pleased with the results once I became familiar with some of its features. I was able to integrate text, images, YouTube videos, and music into the presentation. Prezi is a great alternative to PowerPoints for collecting and presenting information. There were several other multimedia tools that caught my interest in this course. The one that had the most impact on my teaching practice was examining the importance of mind mapping or concept mapping to support thinking and learning. Creating a visual representation of words and images on paper or with a mind mapping tool helps a learner to actually see the connections of all the components. I use Poplet.com to make my visual representation of all the research on mind mapping. I really wanted something I could utilize with my K through 5th graders. And Poplet is definitely it. It allows you to easily add text, images, add links, and Poplet allows you to collaborate in building the maps. I have plans to use this tool as a collaborative platform for students' work in my class. MALC 629 Seminar in Interpersonal Communications was my first elective during my instructional technology program. It was a seminar that took place over several weekends on the Regis campus. It was good to be back in a traditional classroom setting and having face-to-face conversations. And how appropriate, it was all about interpersonal communications. This was probably one of my most challenging and eye-opening classes, pushing me to expand my thinking around how I process all types of communications. The artifact I chose was the final project paper titled Interpersonal Communications Within an Organization. This assignment forced me to research and really reflect on how I communicate with others in my personal and professional life. As a teacher and instructional technology leader, I think it is vital to always be aware of your communication style, making sure that what I am trying to communicate is actually being understood. Being aware of who my audience is, their cultural norms, verbal and nonverbal cues can greatly increase my ability to communicate effectively with students and colleagues. This class helped me become aware of the whole process of communicating on many levels. EDTC 601, Virtual Collaboration and Communication. This course was a non-stop flow of projects and research into virtual communication and collaboration. It was a bit heavy on the projects and light on the collaboration. We looked at a variety of current collaboration, communication, and assessment tools. One of the most interesting and useful artifacts of this course for me was looking at the acceptable use policy of my school district. This was a process of discovery and greater understanding of just what an acceptable use policy encompasses. I found the discussion forums in this section most informative. I was able to develop a working AUP for my own school that I feel will meet its needs. Another project I learned a lot from was a digital citizenship poster that I collaborated with another student in the class to create using PictoChart. This is not really a collaboration tool, but we opened an account and built that poster to accompany our lesson we worked together on about digital citizenship. EDTC 602, Instructional Design. In this course, I was given an opportunity to build a unit of study using a backward design process. I had heard of this process, but had never really applied it to my own teaching practice. Using a series of steps to analyze and visualize the desired outcome of the instruction, I was able to create a unit of study on digital citizenship for my K through 5th graders that is relevant to the needs of the students. I was surprised as I worked through the theory of action, target goals, pedagogy and process, and assessment methods on how much my original goals for the unit changed. One of the most helpful tools that I created for this unit is the process tracking tool. It allows me to see at a glance the overall understanding of each student. In the past, I had this information in several places, or not at all. Now I have data that I can use to differentiate learning for individuals or small groups. Overall, by using a backward design method of building a unit of study, I have gained a deeper understanding of my students' needs before, during, and after the lesson. In the past, I used more of a one-size-fits-all approach to my lessons. Now I see the necessity of pre- and post-assessments. I am now incorporating a progress monitoring tool into all my units of study. EDTC 606 Multimedia 2 was a continuation of sorts of Multimedia 605, with a project each week exploring and using a wide range of multimedia resources and tools. We explored fair use, mashups, remix, podcasting and audio tools, simulation and virtual manipulative tools, 2 and 3D animation tools. It was a lot of work, but I enjoyed producing and creating all the projects. One of the artifacts I wanted to share was the digital storytelling project I did. When planning out the storyboard for this digital story, I changed directions and storyboards several times in the process. I wanted to do a digital story project that I could use with my students, but just couldn't put my finger on it at first. I finally decided to make a screencast on how to use GarageBand to make a digital story. GarageBand is a great Apple program that is on all the MacBooks we have in our 3 mobile carts that the students use at my school. Several of the grades in my school have been doing how-to and all-about stories in their writing blocks. As the technology teacher, I offered to help the classroom teachers use GarageBand to help their students turn their works into digital stories. The problem was that many of the teachers didn't know how to use GarageBand. This screencast ended up having a dual purpose, not only being a tutorial for students, but teachers too. This project helped me realize my potential for reaching several audiences with the same message. It is not a perfect production, but I feel it is a good start. It also helped me clarify my role as a technology leader at my school. And finally, EDTC 610, the Instructional Technology Capstone. This was all about reflection. By looking back on all the courses, all the projects and research I have covered during my Regis Master's program, I was amazed by the vast amount of work I had accomplished. I also came to realize how much this program has changed my view and understanding of my role as a technology specialist at my school. I now have a deep commitment to improve the learning and understanding of my students, teachers, and parents with the knowledge I have gained in this program. In reflection, I have also found that I have been greatly influenced by many of my peers I have been fortunate enough to meet during my journey through this program. Each came from a unique and different background that made discussions and collaboration such a big part of my overall growth as a learner during this program. I am deeply grateful for their support, insight, and I wish them all the best in their futures as instructional technology specialists. Thank you all.